XDefiant has just ruined Call of Duty. For a game that's currently in its beta stage and developed by a studio that's only notable games being South Park Stick of Truth and South Park Fractured But Whole, I gotta say, this game is pretty decent if you ask me, minus all the development errors, obnoxious latency, horrible hit registration, and weird glitches. Still, I think it has a ton of potential. Kind of like, well, I was gonna say Zach Wilson, but it doesn't work. Shout out to his MILF game, though. I'm kind of unsure what to classify XDefiant as, because yes, it's a first-person shooter, but it's also an arena shooter, while also being a borderline hero shooter with how its factions element is set up. So that makes this a free-to-play, first-person, arena hero faction-type shooter. That's not much of me complaining, I'm just so damn confused. A few things of note. As I said earlier, XDefiant is currently in its beta stage. In the past, I've mentioned how betas are essentially just early access and that everything we see and play is pretty much set in stone outside of a few things that need to be fixed, like a few bugs or maybe some balancing here and there. XDefiant is the exception to that rule. This game right here is the definition of beta because it sounds like we're still early enough in the development that any bit of feedback that we provide could help reshape this game. The other thing, this game also takes some sort of inspiration from Call of Duty, mainly because the director of the game, Mark Rubin, worked on the franchise from 2005 to 2015. So if you're gonna get your hands on the beta, don't be surprised when you get into a game and you start to go, "You're an imposter!" But if one game comes to mind when I play it, it's a game that will probably either slap you with some rock-hard nostalgia or force you to just stare blankly at your screen wondering what the hell I'm even talking about. That game, the one I'm thinking of, is Gotham City Imposters. They both play similarly, utilize Call of Duty elements to attract an audience, while also having elements of a hero shooter. Sort of. Close enough. Getting this out of the way, I don't think XDefiant is a bad game, but I do think in its current state, as a beta, I think the game is borderline unplayable. That's not to say I don't think things get much better because, again, it's a beta, and I feel like the developers are actually trying to take in as much feedback as possible, which is a very good thing, and I applaud them for that, but with the issues the game has as a beta, it's a pretty rough beta, and I mean, it's rough. With that being said, I've decided for your viewing pleasure to divide the video into sections, those being the good, the bad, and the bad. The good will be things that I think are some of the best aspects of the game. The bad being my own personal gripes about the game, in which half of you can just go tell me to pound sand about. The other bad is just actual issues that I think the developers really need to look at for this game to actually get better. Also, this won't be a typical video they're kind of used to because we're currently in feedback mode, BUSHBERRY, so buckle up, buckaroo. The good. XDefiant is free to play, a business model that could easily bury the game and ends up being one of its best assets, because if it intends to compete with the likes of Call of Duty, it needs to be able to appeal to the demographic of a Call of Duty player outside of just being a Call of Duty clone. And by being a free-to-play game, it helps entice players tired of paying $70 on a game where their feedback lands on deaf ears. The next thing is the game has 14 maps. Yes, 14. No need to turn up your volume because you heard me correctly. 14 maps. Not all maps slap, but they seem easy to navigate in comparison to some other games' maps. And it also seems like some maps are specific to certain game modes, which is very exciting if that's actually correct, because then that actually helps certain maps play vastly different in terms of which game mode you're playing. Map voting is in the game, probably one of the few times in life where your vote actually matters. Map voting is a feature that provides the player base with the option to pick and choose which maps they actually play on based off the rotation that is presented to them. So, let's just say you're offered options A and B. If neither are good enough, then you're offered an option of random. So if, let's say, you want to just choose random, you'll get a random map that is outside of the two options presented to you, giving you a bunch of options and allowing you, the player, to have control of your own destiny. The UI is pretty manageable, and it's pretty similar to the UI seen in Rainbow Six Siege. Getting from window to window feels pretty seamless, or as close as it can be with the weird bugs from the beta. Factions seem like a refreshing addition, though it seems similar to a more hero shooter format, but each faction has its own sort of abilities and ultimates that range from healing to flaming your opponents, literally, to Soldier 76.
I've got you in my sights.
The bad. Disclaimer, these are my own personal issues with the game, and things I don't personally see need to be fixed, but would like to be fixed. Also, another disclaimer, I suck at this game, because I want to get that out there because there's a piece of criticism that will probably warrant a skill issue comment. Anywho, you're going to see elements of an advanced movement system, and players seem to move around the map like Sonic the Hedgehog on crack, which personally can get kind of annoying. I'm all for faster movement, that makes this game seem like less of a drag, but This is very far on the buck wild side of the spectrum in terms of movement, so maybe we can find a healthier middle, and then have these issues that arose from Modern Warfare 2019 and Cold War or Vanguard, maybe just slow it down just a little bit, is what I'm trying to say here. I'm slightly concerned about the level of content in the game. Again, beta, but I'm not really sure where the line is in terms of how much content will be in the game. 14 maps is extremely impressive, but the amount of unlockable weapons is not. With the addition of no perks and only custom class slots for weapons, attachments, and only the lethal or equipment of your choice, that section of the game feels emptier than the Oakland Coliseum, and I put this in my own personal issues class because I don't know what to expect, and I feel it's kind of unfair to say it's really bad, but wanted to at least get it out there and express my concerns. That way, if my concerns are right, then I can say, na boo boo, Bushberry was right too. I don't know. Hit markers should become larger. Half the time, I can't tell if I'm actually hitting someone. Yeah, you have a damage indicator that flies around your opponent, but it's so quick and so small.
That's what she said.
That it's hard to tell if you're actually doing damage to someone or missing every single shot in your mag. The bad. Again, this bad is stuff that most certainly needs to be fixed before a final launch. That way, this game can actually come close to succeeding. This can range from bugs to design choices, but also, if not all of these, could be fixed prior to the launch anyway, but it's at least worth mentioning them just in case someone didn't say something. Latency in the beta is absolutely insane. I constantly feel like players are dinking and dunking through the power of horrible servers or being in the electronics section of Walmart because of just how much they're sliding all over the place, or, even better, seemingly eating bullets like they can just, I guess, eat bullets. I don't know. There's a weird grenade glitch where if you throw a grenade, it just may plop right in front of you or just stick to the surface you're behind, leading you to just go boom. Libertad's health boost shouldn't be able to take into effect in the middle of a gunfight. This seems like more of a balancing thing than anything else, but allowing players to activate any sort of healing booster that makes themselves or anyone around them nearly invincible for a short period of time during a gunfight is ludicrous. The word, not the rapper. XDefiant had a lot of developer errors when it first launched. It seems as though these have either gone away or at the very least gotten better or less noticeable, and I guess this is just a personal gripe, but because most games do this, I feel like it's just worth noting and saying that they should be adding in what the developer errors mean when they pop up. That way, it keeps things more transparent instead of just the player base having to search through the vacuum that is Google for answers. Lastly, and this might be a me thing and I'm really not sure, but I've noticed that I keep losing personal progress on challenges after finishing matches. Like, I see people with the ACR, but for some reason, even after moving the needle a little bit more for the challenge, it some reason just goes right back to its original state, either whenever I log out of the game or end my last match. Conclusion. Listen, XDefiant has a ton of potential to be a good game. I want this to be a good game. I want there to be some sort of competition for Call of Duty. That way, all the dumb shit they've been doing over the last couple of years can maybe be reevaluated and some change can be done. Which is a great thing, because competition in a genre that has pretty much no competition at all is good for consumers like us. So again, I hope XDefiant really succeeds, because my personal issues aside, it's a pretty obtainable thing for this development team to do. And that's also, again, because this is a beta, and I think this is the most clear beta we've seen in a long time from really any development studio, because it looks like a rough draft, and that there's a lot of change that can still be done. But that's also as long as the game developers are actually willing to stick with it and listen to the feedback they're being given, which I think they're going to, because they've done a very good job thus far with communicating to the player base. I also think famed hype man Robert Bowling said it really well on Twitter that XDefiant is a refinement of what Call of Duty was, because at its current stage, Call of Duty is an everything shooter. It has a really big identity issue going on right now, and XDefiant will hopefully be this breath of fresh air. As for why it's unplayable in 2023, it's a beta. It has issues that will hopefully be fixed, which is why I implore you, the player, to deliver as much feedback as possible to the developers, because you have the ability to fix this game if it need be. But I'm very excited for XDefiant and look forward to seeing what this development team can really do with it. And with that being said, I want to know two things. What do you think of XDefiant and its beta? Are there issues that maybe you think exist that I missed? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, great, leave a like. And if you didn't, well, that sucks, because it's really not going to get much better. Thanks for watching. Until next time when we talk about the shotgun abuse in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Well, bye.